Yes, you can see your screen.
Yes, we
Yeah.
can see.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be here today. It's such an honor among said great minds and passionate individuals committed to addressing one of the most pressing challenges of our time, climate change. And when we look around our world, we see the undeniable signs of climate change impacts, from extreme weather events to changing ecosystem and biodiversity. We see the impacts of climate change as stark and far-reaching. And as many of the previous presenters have shared, it's now a trend that is only expected to intensify, especially for us in the global south. So, but one beacon of hope for us in the midst of these challenges is the power of research, to drive meaningful change, to be able to deal with this challenge that we face at the moment. And I want to believe that most of us here are researchers or somehow connected to research that aim to find practical solutions to climate challenges. So today, we come together with a shared purpose, right? We've all gathered here at this forum or at this conference with a shared purpose to explore how we as researchers and young entrepreneurs can bridge the gap between the wealth of knowledge that we generate through research and the impactful policies that is needed to drive climate action for a sustainable future for the next generation. So today I just want to share how we as young entrepreneurs, as young researchers, how can we bridge the gap in translating the knowledge that we get through research into very impactful climate policies. For me, I come from a background of research, so I've been in research for a while, and I moved to industry, and now I'm working with the government. So I would say that I've had a fair share of all the various stakeholders, right, when it comes to driving action for us to be able to deal with the challenge of climate change. So for too long, there have been a disconnect between the insights that we as researchers we derive from our research, and as Prof. Nicholas said, and how that knowledge that we get from our research is translated into actionable policies, right? So I believe that this conference has come in a very critical time, and the time is now for us to step up our game and to ensure that the work doesn't just end up, for us as researchers, as Prof. Nicholas said, we publish and, with the mindset of trying to please those who have given us the grant and the fund. And so most oftentimes our work just end up in academic journals or conference halls where we do presentation. But the real question is, how can we translate that knowledge? How can we translate our findings into real world solutions that will help to push forward the climate change agenda, the climate action agenda that can help to drive the policy change that we need to ensure a sustainable future for our children. So, what is the importance of research in climate action? Right. So, research help us to get critical insight into the climate change impact. It gives us that opportunity to be able to explore and understand what are the impact of climate change, what are the vulnerabilities for us as a society and the communities and the population, and what are some of the mitigation strategies that we can come up with. And it also gives us the opportunity to come up with findings that can help to inform evidence-based policy decisions, right? So we've gotten to a point where the policies that needs to be taken to combat the impact of climate change, it needs to be evidence-based, right? We don't want to leave the politicians just there, just taking decisions because they mounted some campaign platform and made some promises to people. But are these policies that are being put in place, are they evident? What are the evidence behind it? Are there evidence? Are they scientific based? right? So, and that is the advantage that we have as researchers, right? That we can help them, right? That any policy that they formulate is backed by evidence, is backed by what findings from our research, and so that it can drive the innovations that we want, to be able to address what climate change. So the challenges in translating research into policies is that we have all this wealth of research, we have all this wealth of knowledge, but sometimes it's difficult for us to move it, and translate it into actionable policies that can help to be able to achieve our climate action objectives. And we found out that most of the barriers or most of the challenges include communication gaps, competing interests, as Prof. Nicholas said initially. And sometimes there is this lack of collaboration between the researchers and the policymakers that are making this decision, right? So how can we help? How can we bridge the gap? How can we make sure that whatever that we do as researchers can, seamlessly translate into effective policy decisions? I just want to share a few key principles that can help us, to be able to bridge that gap. The first that I want to talk about is the way that we do, the way we synthesize our research and the way that we communicate it, right? So for us as researchers, one thing that we need to do is that we should make sure that we synthesize our findings into accessible formats, such as policy briefs, like infographics. Earlier on, Professor Nanama was talking about an artist. They use art to communicate what the findings from research. We need to be able to ensure that our findings from our research are in accessible formats, so that we can communicate the key insights to policymakers and stakeholders. Accessibility is crucial to ensure that a wide range of stakeholders can understand and engage with our research. So this means that researchers need to condense our study results, our analysis, the conclusions into a very concise and digestible format. And this format can be in form of written summaries, presentations, multimedia materials, right? That cater to different learning preferences and literacy level. Prof. Nicholas was showing this wonderful PowerPoint. I like his presentation. He was showing this powerful PowerPoint where there's this local farmers, that needs those policies that will be put in place to help them to be able to deal with the challenges of climate change. But here is a research finding that is communicated in a very complicated way. All right, so that is something that we need to think about as young researchers when we are doing our research. We need to think, we need to, go beyond just publications in general. But how can we translate it? How can we make these findings, so simple in a way that is presentable to people that have different literacy levels? Because the challenges of climate change are not just being felt by the elite in the societies, okay, but even to people in the most remote, the vulnerable people in the community. They are all experiencing the challenges. So if there is a solution from our research, how can we make sure that they can understand it? And that's why it's very important for us to synthesize those findings into accessible formats. The second point is policy engagement and stakeholder consultation, right? We need to engage policymakers. As researchers, we need to find ways to engage them, to consult with them, government agencies, because at the end of the day, they are the one making the decisions for the community, all right? So we need to try to bring them on board. We need to engage them through the research process to ensure relevance and responsiveness to the real world needs. So at the outset of our projects, it's very important for us to engage them. It's very important for us to involve them early on, so that all the research questions that we are thinking about, we try to think about it in this way, that our research questions are aligned with the real world needs. All right. Sometimes some of the questions that we put forward in our research It doesn't translate into the real world needs of what the community needs. So by engaging this policymaker, by engaging all stakeholders, the farmers, okay, all these people, we'll be able to formulate those research questions and design research that will help to ensure that the method, the approach, and the objectives of our research are very practical and they are very feasible for all stakeholders. So that is very important. The next thing I want to talk about is what co-design and co-production of knowledge. All right, we need to collaborate research approach in such a way that they are active partners. Okay, we need to foster those co-creation of knowledge and try to enhance its applicability to the people that are really going to use our findings. All right. So don't just think about that reviewer somewhere who is going to review your paper. All right. It's very important. Yes, we want it to be published, but at the end of the day, we want that finding to translate on the ground. And it's very important that we do that co-production of knowledge. The next thing that I want to talk about is policy relevant analysis and solutions. All right. As researchers, as young researchers, we need to focus on producing analysis and solutions that address present climate challenges and inform decision-making process. All right, we need to focus on what kind of analysis are we making with our work? Are they policy relevant? Okay, are they going to produce solutions that address the present climate challenges and inform decision-making processes? That is very important for us to think about. The next point that I want to share on is what capacity building and knowledge transfer is very important. We need to build stakeholders' capacity to understand and interpret what the research findings that we come out with. Okay, we can do that through training, workshop. Okay, find time, talk to your supervisors, talk to your professors, go out there to the people that are going to take your work. Okay, if there is a need for training and seminars, all right, we need to organize those things and try to help them to understand. Okay, because sometimes the way we present it, they can interpret it wrongly. All right, so it's very important for us to be able to think beyond the academic environment and try to involve all stakeholders and build their capacity to understand the results and the findings that come out of our work. The next thing that I also want to talk about is policy advocacy and engagement. We need to advocate for evidence-based policies. All right. When the government agencies are making, the decision makers are making decision policies, we need to try to advocate that, hey, what you guys are putting forward, what is the evidence behind it? We have this research. Okay, we need to try to advocate for that. We don't have to keep silent and just think that, oh, these are just politicians, they are doing, because the decisions that they make at the end of their term, they are going to leave office, and those decisions are going to be there. Those policies are going to be there, and it's going to impact the community. So, as young entrepreneurs, as young researchers, we need to advocate for evidence-based policies so that we know that these policies are going to cater for the challenges that are on the ground. It's very important. The last thing that I also want to talk about is monitoring and evaluation. We need to be able to keep monitoring and evaluating policy implementation, to be able to understand that are these being asked, whether these are being backed by our findings and are they being effective, because sometimes you do research, it changes, the findings changes, knowledge changes. All right, so we need to continue to evaluate the things that we do so that the advice that we give to policy policy makers or decision makers, they are not static in nature. All right, because as researchers, we are always identifying gaps and we are always trying to be able to understand as things translate, as things moves on, as situation changes. We need to be able to monitor and evaluate, are these policies still relevant? Do we need to make changes? So these are very important for us that as young researchers, we need to try to monitor and evaluate all these policies implementation and to assess how effective they are to make sure that it informs, the adaptation of the actions that we want to see being implemented. All right. So in conclusion, what I want to say is that translating our research into meaningful policy requires collaboration. It requires communication. It requires engagement across all stakeholders. Very, very important. And if we are able to follow some of these key principles that I've just shared, I believe that it's going to help us to bridge the gap between knowledge generation and the policy actions that we put together to drive effective climate solution. And as young African researchers, I believe that we possess a very unique perspective and expertise that is very, very instrumental in shaping effective climate policies that are tailored to the challenges that our continent is facing. And our innovative ideas and dedication and passion should be the driving force behind the transformative change that we seek for. So today I just want to encourage and challenge all of us here. Let's do our best. Let's embark on a journey together. A journey that is fueled by curiosity, a journey that is fueled by collaboration, a journey that has a shared commitment to making a difference in our region. Then let's try to explore all strategies and share insight, and let's try to inspire one another to harness the full potential of research in driving impactful climate policy. And I believe that together we all have the power to effect that change and to shape a future where sustainability isn't just a goal, but it will become a reality for us as Africans. And let's all try, as young entrepreneurs, let's all try to see this opportunity and every opportunity that comes our way, and let's try to drive towards a more resilient and a sustainable Africa. Thank you very much.